Holiday pay has been an ever-changing and very confusing landscape for the past 10 years for employers. I'll admit, for me, it's not been my favourite subject either, but this year, 2024, we have some reforms to the working time regulations which consolidate all that case law, put it all in legislation, and make things a little bit easier for employers when it comes to irregular workers and part-year workers. So in this video, I'm going to explain exactly what that means. Hello, my name's Jenefer. I'm the founder of Silk Helix, and we work with employers on all things HR, employment law, people management, getting things right so that you can get the best out of your people. And today I'm going to crack on with explaining holiday pay in 2024. So, holiday entitlements. So to start with, let's talk about the statutory minimum holiday entitlement, which is 5.6 weeks, which equates to 28 days for somebody who works 5 days a week and is capped at 28 days, so it doesn't go beyond 28 days. Everything I talk about in this video is going to be about that statutory minimum entitlement. That's what I'm referring to. Companies can give more than that. You can do anything you like over and above the statutory minimum, but you've got to make sure that you're meeting that statutory minimum holiday entitlement. And that's the entitlements time. So we've then got to look at, well, what does that mean for holiday pay? So with effect from January 2024 and the reforms to the working time regulations, we have clarification as to exactly what this means for pay. There is two parts to that statutory minimum. And this gets a tad bit confusing, and most employers will decide to ignore this bit, but I'm just going to say it because it's there and we need to make sure that we're really clear on this. The holiday entitlement of 5.6 weeks, 28 days, is split into two parts. So 20 days is entitlement that needs to be paid at the normal rate of pay, and I'm just about to define what normal rate of pay is. And this is because it comes from legislation based in the EU. And then we have the final 8 days, which can be paid at basic pay. So this normal payment calculation doesn't apply to that. As I say, for most employers, the administration far outweighs the cost of just paying everything at this normal rate of pay. And I'm not going to go into all the details about what the law is and why the law is in the two, but it's there. So just be aware of it. There is an option to pay less for holiday for 8 days than you do for the other 20 days. And of course, contractual holiday, you can do what you like after that. You can pay that at whatever rate that you want. Most people, however, will only see it as a benefit if they continue to be paid at their normal rate of pay. So what does normal rate of pay mean? Normal rate of pay means that they are getting the payments that they would receive if they normally were at work. So they're not deterred from taking holiday because they're not worse off from taking holiday. Specifically, that includes payments including commission payments intrinsically linked to the performance of tasks which the worker is contractually obliged to carry out. Payments relating to professional or personal status relating to length of service, seniority or professional qualifications. And other payments such as overtime payments which have regularly been paid to the worker in the 52 weeks preceding the calculation date. And I use the term worker rather than employee because the working time regulations uses that wider definition. So anybody who is not genuinely self-employed will count as a worker for the point for holiday pay under working time regulations. Now this is fine and relatively simple to most full-time employees. So if somebody's on a salary, they get paid the same every month regardless of whether they take holiday or not. It's all relatively simple. If, however, somebody is on a salary and then gets some commission payments on top of that, some overtime payments on top of that, that's where it starts to get more complicated and that definition falls in. But then we have the even more complicated situations of people who work irregular hours or part-year contracts. So what does holiday pay mean for them? So for the last few years, we've calculated normal holiday pay as the 52-week average. So using the average amount the individual has earned for the previous 52 weeks where work has been carried out. And this will still be used for anybody who works regular hours, but say earns commission or works irregular hours with things like overtime. That 52-week average will still be used to calculate their holiday pay. But we have two categories of worker where we can start using what's called rolled up holiday pay again. And this is really useful because this rolled up holiday pay, what it allows us to do is to pay an amount every time we pay somebody to cover their holiday accrual and holiday pay. So their pay slip can show hourly rate, which must meet national minimum wage, and then have another line which shows holiday pay, which at statutory minimum is accrued at 12.07%. So for every hour they work and are paid for, they receive another 12.07% on top of that, listed as holiday pay. That option has not been available to employers for a number of years now, but we now have got it again for holiday years that start on or after April 2024. We can reintroduce rolled up holiday pay. And there are situations where this will be so much easier, not just for employers, but also for employees to understand what their holiday is and what they're going to get paid for. Some employers may hold that pot back and then pay it out when the holiday is taken, but most rolled up holiday pay is generally paid at the time that somebody is working. This is only permitted though in two circumstances. One, where somebody works irregular hours by the nature of their contract. So this will be somebody who is on a 0-hour contract, maybe a minimum hour contract. So maybe they've got in there something like 10 hours a month, but actually that fluctuates above that quite significantly, and their hours of work really do vary. It can only be used where the contract states that the hours vary. So I work with a lot of clients in the salon industry who may contract people to a number of hours each week. Let's say they're contracted to 30 hours a week. But regularly people go home early without pay because there's no clients in, and so the individual says, actually, I'm quite happy to go home. I've got no appointments, I'll go home and forgo the pay because they would rather have the time at home. Those are not irregular hours workers for the purposes of this and the working time regulations. I would actually recommend in those situations you're updating the contracts, because contracts don't really reflect what is actually happening in terms of their hours of work. But that's another discussion for another video. But for right now, irregular hours are those people who the nature of their contract states that their hours are irregular, and therefore rolled up holiday pay can be used for those people. Rolled up holiday pay can also be used for part-year workers where they are paid only when they work. So I'll take term time only because that's the kind of the most common one we get, but we could have seasonal workers, say on a farm, for example, but term time only workers. So if you've got somebody who works term time only, but their salary is calculated across 12 months, so they are paid every month of the year, regardless of whether they work in that month, then they are not classed as part-year workers. If, however, they work term time only and they get paid at the time they work, but not at the time they don't work. So in a school, for example, that would mean the August payslip would have nothing on it because that's the summer holidays. Then they would count as part-year workers. And in that situation, again, rolled up holiday could be used. Overall, holiday is about people having paid breaks from work and not being deterred from taking breaks from work by the fact that they don't receive payment. And if somebody's got rolled up holiday, although they're receiving that payment, it's not at the time of the holiday, and therefore they've got to manage their own budgets in terms of putting that money aside for when they're on holiday. So rolled up holiday does have its problems. There's a lot of people don't like it, and this is why the case law did go against it, and it does deter people from taking holiday. However, on the flip side to that, we've got situations where it's really difficult for individuals to understand their holiday entitlement, their holiday pay. And again, that can deter them from taking holiday. So if you're working on a 52-week average, but you haven't got the information to work out what your 52-week average is, and that's going to, each week, basically that's going to change. So it depends when you take the holiday as to what you'll get paid for it. I can really see for individuals why rolled up holiday pay is beneficial. And the administrative burden as well on employers has been challenging around the 52-week average. So I think this rolled up holiday pay is really advantageous. It's really helpful to employers and employees alike where it's used appropriately. And bear in mind, it can only be used for holiday years that start after the 1st of April 2024. And also bear in mind that this may be a contractual change. If the 52-week average is written into the contract, which it probably is, it will be a contractual change, so you will need to negotiate that and get an agreement with that with the individuals involved. But of course, for new starters, you can make those changes. So yes, for 10 years, holiday pay has been an ever-changing landscape. Hopefully this is now going to stop that ever-changing landscape and put us into a situation where we're a bit more settled with it. And to be fair, we have been for a few years now. The fact we've got this clarity, I think, is really beneficial. But it's just one of the many employment law updates we've got this year. Check out my other videos on employment law updates, the changes to carers leave, parental leave that we've got coming in, as well as flexible working in 2024. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss a single video.